Hello there, Server from 17 once again, introducing you to some more invasions in the Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition. So, I'm invading in the new areas, and as you can tell by the title, invasions need some time, folks, because they're really slow at the moment. There's not a lot of people in human form. The arena is dead at this moment in time. It takes a long time to get a duel, and I only managed to get actually 4 invasions, and the 4th one Fraps fucked up on me, which is bullshit because I got smashed by a guy who's obviously pretty good at PvP, and he lag stabbed me in a row, which is kind of cheap, but you know, you can't hold it against folk like that. It's just how the game works. But this is not the first invasion I've done on the game, because I've done invasions in other areas, but they were all against new people, and they were all pretty uneventful. So I'm probably not going to show you those ones. But this, for all intents and purposes, is my first real attempt to invade without the Darkwood Grain Ring. And anybody that knows me knows that I rely on that ring a lot. And this first guy is obviously a new player. He's got no poise. He's using the Black Knight Halberd, and he's just exploring the game. And unfortunately, he's in human form, so I invade him. And here we go. It's time to fight. So I'm using a setup that's not the one I would normally use, but it's still kind of interesting. I've got the Chaos S-Stock because it's light, and I've got the Obsidian Sword because I want to practice with it. As you can see, I just took that guy out with the secondary function of the weapon, which is the two-handed R2, which does the awesome area of effect move. Really like that. And the guy didn't heal for a new player, so I've got full respect for him. Unlike this guy, I've actually trimmed out the start of this video because this dude invaded me when I was trying to invade other people, so that's kind of ironic. And he showed up wearing the full Chester armor, and then he ran off and tried to lure me into the mobs, because he's either new at invading or he invades, you know, and griefs people. So I put on Go's bow because this bow is amazing. It's a little hard to aim at times because sometimes you need to aim off center, then on center and things. And I mess about with him up here, trying to get him up to try and engage, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants to lure me down into this dude down there, but there's only one enemy, and I've killed this enemy so many times. I'm not all that afraid of one of the Abyss Guards, so I try and lure him to try and either get the Abyss Guard to come to me or to get this dude to come to me. Neither happens. A little bit of a war of attrition, and then I decide I'm going to probably start hitting him with some pyromancies because I'm getting bored. The only problem here is I've got my pyromancy on my offhand, and I never normally do this because I just prefer it to have it on my normal hand. So this guy should be capitalizing on the fact that I do not have 45 dexterity, and I'm throwing a ton of fire at him right now, and then I finish him off with a quick poke because he doesn't have too much life, too much vitality. He has hardly any poise, and I give him the appropriate point down. But Praetorian Envy, dude, if you'd have just, you know, dueled properly, we could have had a really fun fight, but you want it to be like that, so there you go. And then the final one is against another new player, I believe. And once again, I'm invading in the Ulasil Township. That is RBZ Nada. Maybe he couldn't think of a name, so he just kind of spammed the keyboard, or maybe that's, you know, his tag or some kind of interesting moniker for him. But this guy's actually quite far into the township. I have to follow him for quite some distance before I find him, and I believe he's a new player because, in my experience, new players will do what works and pretty much nothing else. Experienced players generally move away from, you know, some of the early strategies, and a good way to generally find someone who is new is if they're using a Great Shield. And I'm going to put an addendum to this because using a Great Shield is not a bad thing. If you do it, that's fine, and if you're an experienced player and you use a Great Shield, that's fine too. But generally, the more you play the game, especially towards the PvP side, the more you realise the importance of parries, and the Great Shields don't have them. So anybody that's invested a lot of time in the game is probably going to wear a lighter shield. So when I see the Great Shields, I generally think new player or bad player. And when I say bad player, that's not to be taken as an offensive thing. It's just a case of someone who hasn't, you know, invested the time to learn more than just blocking. They've relied on a certain recipe that's gave them success, and they've never mixed it up. And anybody that knows, ignorance can be the biggest, you know, downfall for most players if they don't experiment. I get it too. Everybody gets it. And Great Shield users generally never learn to manage the stamina all that well, because once they get the Great Shields, it just becomes this, you know, impenetrable wall that they hide behind, this little comfort pillow. And there you go, I look up to the rafters, I see him killing an enemy, and This guy is wearing a semi-full giants with a guardian head piece. He's using the Havel's shield, and I think he's using a longsword. He's not flipping around because you can't anymore, so he has the slow roll. And I give props to this dude as I say hello with my carving. Those carvings are funny. He throws one back. I can't remember what it said. So now that we've initiated, I bow to show that, you know, I'm at least not just trying to stab him whenever I can. He bows back, and that's it. Game time. I pop my blossom. I think he pops a blossom too. So maybe this guy's better than I think he is, or maybe he's watched quite a lot of PvP, but he's new to the game. Maybe he's like me, who's, you know, just getting into it. Although I've got a little bit more experience under my belt, and you'll notice the guy's using. I think it's a longsword. And I've never seen anybody use a longsword in PvP, so he gets amazing props immediately. This is me trying to do some no-lock pyromancy, which I have been practicing with, but I was only doing it to try and spook him to see what he's doing. Because you'll notice he's turtling pretty hard right now. I'm getting a little bit of scrape damage with my Chaos S-Stock because of the fire, and he's not committing to any attacks, so I bring out my big sword to try and intimidate him. I try and do the running slash. My problem there is I didn't unengage the lock. If I'd have disengaged it, I could have maybe dead angled him. So now I throw another one of the spells to try and force him into moving. He does a roll. It tells me he has the weak roll. Then I throw a locked on one, and I come over once again. And this guy is being super defensive, and I don't know if it's because he doesn't quite know how to approach an aggressive fighter, or if maybe he's just a super patient guy, maybe he's a chess player, but I don't really like fights like this, purely because I like two players trying to hurt each other. That's not to say this is not a good strategy, because it does work, but it forces me to get creative, so I use the two-handed. The range is pretty weak. I come back over to him again. I'm pretty sure at this point that this guy's going to hide. So there you go. The lock-on is gone. I'm trying to dead angle now because this dude is just gonna fuck about. Right there, he's messing with the shield, so I couldn't quite understand if he was, you know, trying to tell me something. Because for all I know, this guy wants me to leave. But if you want me to leave, dude, get the black crystal of separation and send me home. It's that simple. I'll challenge the boss. But here I go to the shuttle because I've got it on, and I pull it out, and immediately the guy doesn't recognise it's a shuttle, so that tells me he's probably new. And this is what always happens when you strike somebody with the shuttle. They panic, and then they go mash happy. So he starts mashing. I wing a parry, but the parry timings on PC are crushing me. I mean, I wasn't great on Xbox, but it seems like the lag is completely different. So this kind of goes to hell in pretty quickly as he starts getting... Look at that. Do you see that shit? I had my shield up. He swung, not facing me, and it hit me. Because the lag is pretty terrible too. I notice he commits to some swipes. I throw the pyromancy, and I manage to clip him with full damage. But that was a pretty different and unusual fight for me. But right now, PvP is kind of dead on the game unless you're much lower level, because I am kind of high. I had to put points into fucking Faith because I couldn't get any co-op working. But that's a completely other story. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.